Lindsay and everyone else out there. Hope everyone's doing well. So I have some time before my next lesson starts here to do a little bit of some, turn this up just a little bit, lesson video for you now that you got your book, Lindsay. So everyone else, these are all out of Alfred's book. There are number 1 and number 2 of both the snare book, and then also a number 2 of book 2, which is currently at my classroom at the academy. But we're not going to bite off more than we can chew for today. So we're primarily going to be working out of this book, okay? Now, just quickly, so that we kind of have some review from what the last video was, we were all going through this, and I know some of you don't have the pages. Like I said, I'd be more than happy to send them to you guys, okay? So if you don't have them and you'd like them, or you can take a screenshot of the video and then send the file to your email and print it out that way. So lesson 7, good old lesson 7, okay? So going straight down the page, I'm just going to count it out for you. Track along with your eyes as you go down. I'm going straight from beat 4 of number 1 directly into beat 1 of number 2, and so forth, all the way through 8, okay? So it's counted 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4, 2. 1E and a 2E and a 3 and 4, 3. 1E and a 2E and a 3 and 4 and 1E and a 2E and a 3, 4, 5. 1E and a 2 and 3E and a 4, 6. 1 and 2 and 3E and a 4, 7. 1 and 2E and a 3 and 4E and a 8. 2E and a 3, 4E back to 1E and a 2E, and so forth, okay? So that's what we're referring to going through here. So if you want to try to take a screenshot here, you can, or zoom in on specific ones. See, the best thing about this lesson, guys, is not only the control that it's going to give you over time, because if you work with it, and the whole key is to memorize it. The faster that you memorize it, the more progress you're going to make quicker, okay? Because if you memorize it, then you don't have to think so much about each individual syllable and how do I get my limbs to move at that exact point in time, right? That kind of thing. So you want to make sure that you've got enough repetitions so that you can memorize what the cadences sound like, okay? So I'm going to go straight down the page. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you want to do it usually around 5 repetitions. The point being, once you've got it memorized, okay, so then it makes it so that your dexterity gets up, your evenness of beats. And remember, there's 2 different ways to practice. You want to practice for technique, okay, in addition to sound. So righties, our left hand is our non-dominant, or we refer to it as our weak hand. Not saying you guys have weak hands, okay, but for us righties, our left hand is kind of our arch nemesis, right, trying to get our left hand up to the same dexterity as our right hand. Now, this is really, really going to help you with this. Lesson 7 is perfect for that because you can use any of them as drum fills. So, if you take the rock patterns page, in tapering, you've got one. Lindsay, you've got one. I've held multiple up, and we're about to get into the book here in a second, which I'm going to show the rest. But from that rock patterns page, what you can do is take lesson 7 page and then that rock patterns page and mix and match all those different patterns with different fills. So you could take like pattern number 4 from the rock patterns page, which is 1, 3, and 1, 3, and 1, 3, and 1, 3, and 4, 1, 2, 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 3, and 4. Now remember, you want to practice those patterns 3 different ways: single stroke 16ths, one-handed 16ths, and eighth notes. So eighth notes are the ones that I just played, and your subdivisions you want to know. Quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4. Eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Eighth note triplets, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. 16ths, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So exactly 16th notes, then 16th note triplets, which are 6 notes for every one downbeat. So here it sounds different than 16ths. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a versus those are 16th note triplets, and those are counted as 1 tita and tita, 2 tita and tita, 3 tita and tita, 4 tita and tita. They have their own syllable count, but if you count them, it's 6 syllables per every one downbeat. 1 tita and tita, 2, and tita, so 6 for each one beat. 1 tita and tita. I was about to go to beat 2, so that's why I went to 7 notes. But it's 6 notes for every one downbeat. Then you have your 32nd notes. So if 16ths are, then your 32nds. Okay, that's important to know your different subdivisions, because that gives the feel to all your patterns. Quarters. These are quarters. Eighths. Eight triplets. 16. Okay, so that's what gives your feel to your different patterns depending on what your ride pattern is up top, okay? So, for instance, choosing pattern number 4 from the rock patterns page with, let's just say, number 3 from lesson 7, which is 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and 4. This is the beauty of lesson 7, is you can orchestrate it all around the kit. Just treat each one of your surfaces as a beat. So, if it's 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and 4, you could do 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and 4, or 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and 4. You know, you can orchestrate around the kit, but the whole point is knowing the cadence, knowing the sticking of it, and then orchestrating it around the kit, okay? So if I play pattern number 4 from the rock patterns page with lesson 7, number 3 as a drum fill, it would sound like this. 1, 3, and 2, 3, and 3, drum fill. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, drum fill. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and 4. So see there, I'm just doing flams for 3 and 4. So it's kind of up to you how you want to have fun with it. But it gives you, 16 different patterns to practice with 8 different drum fills. So if you do a factor analysis and all the different ways you can orchestrate all those different fills from lesson 7, you have so many different options, and it's going to give you a lot of ideas to work with too. It'll give you a lot of ideas to work with, and it will help with your kit control because you'll be able to get around the kit without tying yourself up, having the right hand free at the right time, figuring out your sticking, all that. Okay? So there's just to review that you already know from lesson 7, 16ths, 8ths, and quarters. Okay? And that's all we're doing up here. And with our patterns, as far as drum fills and full drum set patterns, it's just now that we're using multiple limbs and we're playing some note values just with one hand. So you already know how to play eighth notes with two hands. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now we're just playing it with one hand with our right hand. If we're right-handers, we play crossed. This is called playing open. This is called playing crossed. So now we're just playing with one hand. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So it kind of helps the brain to just put different things together like that. And then it makes a little bit more sense intuitively of, oh, I already know my note values and how to count it. It's just a matter of figuring out what beat placement goes where. And that's why you want to count your syllables. And there's a big difference between practicing and playing. So you want to spend enough time practicing so that by the time you get to the playing part, you've already figured everything out. So you want to practice it enough times where it's just in muscle memory, because you don't want to have to count while playing. You don't want to have to second guess yourself or hesitate, because 99 times out of 100, that beat has already passed. So by the time you react and you hesitate for half a second thinking, wait, is this where it's at? The beat's already gone. So that's why it's important to know where you're going rather than reacting once you get there, that kind of thing. Okay? But that's what ear training is so good for. The more ear training you do, and any of us musicians, we should be listening to music, right? So you wouldn't believe how many different students I have who I'm like, what you been listening to? Oh, I don't really listen to music. It's like, dude, you've been in lessons for how long and you're not listening to music? What's going on? Okay, so, and I have to leave for the academy here in just about 10 minutes, which gives us a perfect amount of time to get into the book. So, and I know I'm kind of rushing there, but that's why I wanted to what helps in my methodology is that if you associate what you already know how to count, your syllables, how to go about practicing different things, then you can see how you can apply these different things into your playing. That's the whole thing, is you want to practice enough times, analyze enough times, to then where you can apply it into all of your playing. Okay? So, Lesson 7 makes great drum fills, great warm-up, and then last but not least, and then putting an ostinato underneath under your feet changes it to a whole nother exercise. So you heard me play the whole thing with 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and underneath on my feet while I was playing Lesson 7. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and that kind of thing. So that's the next step, basically, is to start involving an ostinato underneath once you've gotten comfortable of memorizing Lesson 7. Okay? So, now with this book, now what I told Lindsay and whoever else is watching those videos too, in the last one that I put up, was to start with page 14 and page 20. 21. Well, page 20 is a great one too. Yeah, 20 is a great one too because it has a bunch of different drum fills. So usually I use page 20 and 21 in conjunction because they're right next to each other as far as fills plus syncopation. So that's another thing where we treat this as like a lesson 7 page, and then this is the rock pattern page. Then what we do is combine different fills with different patterns from the other page. Okay? So first and foremost, page 14. Page 14 in this book, it's already patterns that you guys know from the other page that I printed out and have sent to some people. But like I said, if you need another copy or you need a different copy, that kind of thing, I'd be more than happy to send it to you. Okay? So, if you look at this page, first thing that you're going to notice is number 1 on this page is number 4 from the rock patterns page. Identical, okay? It just looks different because it's written in 2 bars and it's in the book. But if you count your syllables, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, we know they're eighth notes because they're connected together by 1 beam, right? Beat 1 on the bass drum, beat 2 on the snare, then we have 3 and 2/8 on beat 3, and then beat 4. So that is pattern number 4 from the rock patterns page, okay? So that's why I give those pages to people to prepare them for when they do get this book, they're already going to know how to read full patterns, okay? I promise there's a method to my madness, everyone, okay? So, what you're doing on this page, and these are all stacked patterns, so most of you have already practiced a lot of stacked patterns. Just remember that your primary pattern is just 1 and 3 and 2 and 4. And then I'll hold a couple up here. The first one is literally just 1, 3, and 1. Oh, got the talk back on. Sorry. 1, 3, and 1, 3, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, that's number 1. Then if you look down the page, all they start to add is we call these and ones. So you still have the same pattern as up here, but now you have after beat 4 and 1. So it's 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1. Okay? And then if you look further down the page, they just start adding more eighth notes. So you have like and 1 and 3 and. They just put them in different places. But I'll go ahead and play a couple for you because you already know how to play these guys, I promise, okay? But remember, once you start to change to single strokes and 16ths, kind of changes things in the brain a little bit. So here's number 1. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 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 1. And remember, you want to stay relaxed. The faster you go, you want to stay relaxed. I just played number 2, okay? So that was the and 1. 1, 2, 3, and 1. That's what I mean by an and 1. 1, 3, and 4, and 1. 3, and 4, and 1. Okay, so I've just played the first 2 for you. Again, the first one. All the syllables. Where's B1, guys? 1. 1. 1. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 4 and 1. Okay, so I just played the first 2 again. Now number 3 from this page, you're going to see now it changes from, and last time some people had difficulty distinguishing between 3 and 3. They're very close. They're just off by 1/8 note, okay? So I totally get the confusion. But if you look at number 3 compared to number 1 or 2, you're going to see here 3 and comes right before beat 4. Or right here, 3 and 4. On number 3, it comes right after beat 2. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. Okay? So it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and right, guys, I got about 5 minutes left. So, I'm going to go ahead, because we covered page 25 last time. We'll get into that next time. But remember, this is still just your primary pattern. Number 1 is your primary pattern. It's just 1 and 3 and 2 and 4. The only difference is your 16th notes up here rather than 8th notes. Okay? So we've already gone through some of these, and literally, number 1 is your primary pattern, and number 2 is the exact same pattern I just played. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. Except it has 16th notes. Okay? So, quickly, for sake of time, now, this is going to get a little bit tricky, especially for people who aren't used to syncopation yet. But the very first thing that you want to learn is a dotted eighth tied to a 16th. That's what it looks like. I introduced this in the last video. Remember, it looks like the rock sign, the first and the last of a group of 16th notes. 1, E, and It's the downbeat and the okay? So, regardless of what beat they put it on, it always sounds like that. So, some of you have seen them in your hands before. So, instead of 1, E, and it's just 1, 1, 1, okay? But now we're putting it in the bass drum. Now, the rule of thumb, and you're going to find this quickly, is that if you look here, you're going to see it's not stacked. The 16th note, do you see anything written above it? No. Because if you're playing 16th notes in the bass drum, but you're playing 8th notes or quarter notes up here, it's going to syncopate it. Okay? So, now, if you play it 16ths, yes, it will stack, because you're playing 16ths down here and 16ths up here. But number 1, you just have beat 1, and then you have 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and like I said in the last video, we all do this when we first start, is what we call the stutter. So, your right side wants to do what your right side wants to do. What we intend to do are straight eighths, and you want to focus on exaggerating that motion at first. That's really, really, really going to help. Okay, I promise. I promise. Okay, so number 1 sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 4. Okay, so I wanted to play it enough times so you see that my hands are up in the air when that 16th comes down. Okay, that's really, really important, okay? Because at first, like I was saying, the stutter, what I mean by the stutter is this. Where you add that extra note. Right? Where we add that extra, because your right side wants to do what your right side wants to do. The whole key is to play it slow, figure out the coordination, count your syllables, and know that both your hands are going to be up in the air with that syncopated figure, okay? That's the first primary and most important syncopated figure to learn how to get into your muscle memory first, and your coordination. Because then we're going to go to eighths tied to 2 16ths, 2 16ths tied to an eighth, all sorts of other syncopated patterns, 16th note triplets, all sorts of stuff. But this is the beginning of syncopation, and you want to take it nice and slow, and you want to make sure that you got that constant into your muscle memory where your right hand, I think of my right hand like my metronome or my click hand, where if that deviates, everything else down here sounds a little bit wonky, starts and stops. If this is consistent, everything else will be too, okay? So again, it sounds like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, right? Just to show you once you get it up to playing speed, it's a great pattern. Now, right before I stop the video, now if you play it with 16ths, it will stack, okay? 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 1, 2, 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1, 2, 3 up. 1, 2, 3 up. I gotta go, guys. Sorry, I gotta run to the academy, but hopefully that helps. So yeah, those first 2 pages, that's where I'd start with this book, Lindsay, and anyone else. And like I said, just shoot me an email or text, whatever, or through Discord, and I will gladly send you the materials. All right, guys? Happy drumming. Love all you. Hope it helps. Take care.